Guys, the Breakdown Rugby podcast, and we are back again with another episode 2 of season 2 of the Rugby Roundup. Today we're looking at the 2024 Six Nations. Here's our preview. One of the most hottest competitions this year. Guys, how are we feeling?
Yeah, I'm excited. Last Six Nations was good. Ireland obviously came away with the victory. I think after the World Cup is definitely going to play a big part of this Six Nations, but lots of young new talent announced in a lot of the squads. And I think it's looking good. I think France have their work cut out with the injuries they have. They are really, really on the ropes right now.
Yeah, I think this Six Nations is going to be very, very different to the last one. We're seeing a lot of new players come through and a lot of old players go. So it's a lot harder to call than last year, I think.
No, I completely understand. And I agree with a lot of the stuff that you guys said there. Going into it, let's start off with Wales, and I think I just wanted to get Wales out the way. It's just not a sight. It's a sight for sore eyes, isn't it? What do you make of that Wales team? Just looking at the squad alone, what are we giving them out of a 10 going into the competition?
Look, you're negative about Wales, right? And I understand they are awful, and it best describes it when Louis Zammit goes to a different sport to get away from the Welsh rugby team. I understand, but I just think that Wales team, and it's true, you can never write off that Wales team, and I won't ever write off that Wales team because I think they've got enough just pure rugby talent in the country to keep up with the France and Ireland, and I think they will finish third in this whole competition this year.
Right.
I think there's a lot of what Kieran's saying that is true. Like they're picking predominantly a young squad. I mean, look, they got David Jenkins. I believe they're making him captain, 19 years old. You got Jack Morgan in there, Shunza. There's so many really good young players, and they might not get the results now, but in 2-3 years' time, they'll be back to their best, back to what we know Wales for being.
I think my only issue with Wales, if you look at them, and I wanted to just get your thoughts on the Zammit leaving. If your best young player leaves the national side, then that says a lot. And that probably speaks volumes about how bad the national team is. I mean, they lost Zammit, and who's the other one? The one that plays for Exeter, and Warbosa within 1 week, right? Yohan Lloyd might be their starting 10 for Wales. We can't talk about this. I genuinely think this team's getting a wooden spoon and is finishing bottom with 0 points. Because I don't even think they can keep up with Italy.
It doesn't matter if they play Italy in a hard competition. They are always going to come out the other side of the Italian game with a win. Apart from that one anomaly at the Principality. And I really want to reiterate, people need to stop talking about Italy as they have growth and they've done this well and they're in the top rankings. They're not. They're really not.
No, Kieran.
They got under the pump against New Zealand in the Rugby World Cup by like 90 points. They are not the same team.
No, but Kieran, I think with Italy, what you're missing now, I think is really a time for change. They are looking at like a team now that can probably compete. Benetton topped their group in the Challenge Cup. Like, what do you make of that in terms of they beat Scarlet? Yeah, in the Challenge Cup.
The Challenge Cup, not the Champions Cup.
The Challenge Cup is still decent competition, though. It's not bad.
Bristol won it, mate.
Yeah,
it's not good either, though, Taddy. I think the main thing about Wales and probably about England too is that we as fans don't know what to expect from them. You know, England as well. England and Wales, completely new squad, young players. With France and Ireland, you know exactly what you're going to get with them, but with us, you don't.
I think if you're looking at Wales in terms of their home games they have this year, they've got, I believe, is it France in the Principality, and they've got England away at Twickenham. I think those are probably going to be their hardest games. Do you guys see Wales genuinely having a chance of winning any of those games? Oh, that's what I want to get your thoughts on.
I don't know. You just don't know what team Wales are going to go with. Wales are a team that when they turn up for Six Nations, they could be the worst team in the tournament or the best team in the tournament. You don't know what you're going to get with Wales. But I do fancy them against Scotland, Italy. I fancy them against France, and I think they struggle against England and Ireland.
Why are you backing them over France?
Because France are littered with injuries. Dupont's gone, Entamax injured, and I saw another injury list of about eight of their starters injured. Gelange is gone.
Yeah, Gelange.
Like, they're all gone, and these are stars that carried them to the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Yeah, I don't think with those stars missing, they're going to cause any waves with the same impact that Rohan always talks about.
Yeah.
Well, I think even without Dupont, they're still probably a top 2 team in the Six Nations.
No, I agree.
They're clear of Wales. I don't think there's a debate there. They should beat Wales.
I agree. I agree they're clear of Wales, but I do think Wales, if in a tight competition against France, can beat them. I don't think it's for France always going to beat them.
Kieran, Wales will probably get 50 or 60 on them in the Principality. Like, I think they're young guys. Even some of the guys watching Under-20s World Cup would walk into that Wales team. Okay, there's not a single player I'll take right now on the Wales team, even with all the injuries France has to start for France. There's not a single player that makes it. And Kieran, you're even looking at the 23. Is that even wrong for me to say, Rohan? That not a single Welsh player would start for France?
I agree. Yeah, completely agree.
So you don't think the likes
Maybe
of
Jack Morgan. Maybe Jack
Jack
Morgan.
Morgan,
No.
arguably Aaron Wainwright, who's been classed for Wales for literally.
No, Wainwright don't get it.
Guys, this is negative ball knowledge because the players that Wales have, they do have some stars that can play.
No, yeah, they do, but I don't think anyone that would get into that French team and start comfortably.
But this irritates me because France are such an overrated team. Overrated.
I completely.
Let me explain, okay? In the home World Cup in 2023, the year just gone. Where did they exit?
They lost to the Springboks.
By 1 point.
In the quarterfinals.
In my opinion, they were the second best team at that tournament under South Africa.
Come on, get off a bit, mate. Come on.
He's not wrong. He's not.
So South Africa beat New Zealand in the final. They beat New Zealand, and they've beaten every other team other than maybe Ireland in that tournament.
Rohan, if they were the team that you were talking about as going to win the World Cup, they would have beaten South Africa. They didn't. Why not? Why not? If they were
they lost to South Africa. South Africa are better than them, but I don't believe anyone in the Six Nations,
and let me ask you a question,
or maybe Ireland, is better than them.
No, because before the World Cup and during the World Cup, you said France are the greatest team in the world right now. You said Dupont is the best player. He's on track to
go. He is, yeah.
You said that France has got some of the 6% partnerships. Their team is stacked. France can't be beaten. And then what happens? They lose to the Springboks. And they came into the quarters of their own World Cup. Quarters.
Ireland have never made it past the quarters. I don't understand what your point is. Does that make them a bad team? Does that make them a bad team? No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
They lost the game.
It doesn't. But the point I'm trying to make is you were banging on about France being this great team, right? And they got Dupont, and they didn't even get past the quarters.
So what's this got to do with the Six Nations preview?
Personally, I wouldn't have that.
I was wrong. I was wrong about France winning the World Cup.
That's my point. I'm saying stop overhyping France and saying that they can beat Wales.
I still think they're a good team. I still think they're at least top 2 in the Six Nations.
I don't.
Guys, before we move on to France, just to finish off with Wales, can I get your final predictions for Wales for the Six Nations? Because I'm saying they're finishing with a wooden spoon. I think they lose to Italy in Italy. I think they lose to England at Twickenham. They lose to Scotland at the Principality. They lose to Ireland in Dublin. And then they also lose to France in Wales. I don't see them winning any of those games. I think they finish bottom 6, maybe.
I think they come third. And I think the only people below them would be Italy, Scotland, and France.
Rohan?
I'm saying 5th, but they're going to have so many breakthrough players. But they will finish 5th.
Look, you guys are just talking about France there, right? And all the injuries they have. I would just like to say something to Kieran. The notion that France are overrated, right? I think is completely wrong. And I would just like to say that even with all the injuries they have now, they have so many well-skilled players, they could probably still do a Grand Slam.
Mate, if they were that well-skilled, right, in your words, they would have beaten the Springboks in the quarterfinals. Why didn't they?
No, but Kieran, what I'm saying is...
New Zealand beat them. You can sit and talk about all the previous games, but realistically, they lost by a point. Another day they would have won by a point, but now we're talking about the Six Nations. We're not talking about the World Cup.
Kieran, let me ask you a question. How costly would those injuries of Dupont, Geelong, Intermac, Flamont's gone, is it Villiers gone as well? Can France still beat big teams without those players?
No, absolutely not. I don't care. They haven't got the depth.
Who cares about Villiers anyway?
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But granted, right, they are not beating any of the top 5 teams. I promise you, with that team. With all those injuries, they can't beat the top 5 teams. And there's no depth in France. Give me... There isn't.
Oh my God, no, this is the worst thing ever said.
If you go into it, England have better depth than France. I'll take
that. Rohan, I'm done.
England have better depth than France.
Kieran, I think you'll see this Six Nations, with all the injuries that they have and all the new players they have playing, just how good their depth is.
Rohan, if France finish below 3rd, if they come 4th and below, right, you owe me a massive apology. Because I guarantee...
So 4th or 5th or 6th, basically.
If they finish 4th, 5th or 6th, right, you were saying they're still in the top 2 conversation in the Six Nations. If they finish 4th, 5th or 6th, you have to bow to me for the next year. Because I'm
Yeah,
being
that's fair.
the only like really impactful player that they're missing is Dupont. Is that it?
Mm.
Entomac, they're missing.
No.
Yeah,
Gelon,
no Entomac. They've shown that they can play good rugby without him.
Yeah.
As much
Oh
as
my
much
god!
as he makes France better, and I do think he makes France better, Jalibert brings his own
Nah.
thing.
Jalibert,
Grant.
they have Loku at 9, who can't.
No, he won't. No, Loku won't start 9.
Who's it then?
Is it Le Garec? Is that his
Either
name?
Garrick, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know his name. That's my point. They don't have depth.
Because I don't know his
You
name,
can't-
he can't pronounce his name. Does that mean that he's a bad rugby player? I don't understand.
I'd like to say, right, with France, right, and the issue with France, bar, and I'll agree with Rohan by saying bar Dupont, none of those players really make a difference. I think Jalibert, right, the only mistake Jalibert made at the World Cup, and I know it cost the team the game, was literally kicking the ball backwards. But apart from that,
The only
he was
mistake.
brilliant.
Tally,
He
the
was
logic
brilliant.
behind- the
He was
logic
brilliant.
behind that is stupid. The only mistake he made was costing his team when he kicked the ball backwards. That is a costly mistake in a World Cup final.
And guess what?
World Cup game.
Players can learn from it. He's probably
Yes.
never going to do
It's
that.
not- It irritates me when people always talk about learning. Some point you have to execute, and Jalibert doesn't execute.
Yeah, but guess what? He's a young player, Kieran. He should be allowed to
How
make
old is he,
mistakes
Rohan?
so he
How old
can
is
get
he?
better.
How old
What,
is he?
24? 23?
What was Johnny Wilkins and Farrell doing at 23?
Oh, what was Dan Carter doing at 20?
Yeah, what was he doing? He was in World Cup squads.
I'm not comparing him to Johnny Wilkinson or Owen Farrell or Dan Carter. I'm just saying he's a young player that's going to get better. And he's already a great player.
We've really got to stop using excuses of, oh, he's young, he can learn from this. If he's not ready to be an international rugby,
Yeah, mate, I'd like to see you at 19 playing in that quarter final, mate.
I would smoke every single player on that pitch.
Guys, question, just slightly shifting it now, right? I'm going to ask you about 2 games and your opinions about them. First game, they play Ireland, right? Now, Kieran, you talked about injuries and losses. I would just like to pose something out there, right? Is there not an argument here that Ireland losing Sexton is bigger than any of the injuries France have? Because I think it is, and I think France may arguably convincingly beat Ireland on the first day, maybe 10 and 15
Don't be
points.
silly. Don't be silly.
In France,
That's ridiculous.
seeking revenge after losing the World Cup. Kieran, we could be seeing an even more hungry French team.
Ireland's 10 roll, the only thing they lose with Sexton not being on the pitch is slightly taking it to the gain line a little bit later that when Sexton's on the pitch. Apart from that, the 10 can float in and out and control the game beautifully. That's the only thing you
I think Jack Crowley, if anything, brings more to Ireland's attack than Sexton did.
But Sexton does take it to the line more. Crowley's good on the back foot.
That's true.
I would say that towards the end of Sexton's career, he wasn't as good at taking it to the line. I'd say Jack Crowley now is better at that, and if anything, will open up an attack for Ireland even more.
So, who are you backing to win that game round? Would you say France can win that? Because that's one of France's big games. If they beat Ireland, they're on for a Grand Slam. They could win a Grand Slam.
I'm saying Ireland win this game, and the only reason I'm saying this is because with Sexton being gone, Jack Crowley can slot right in. With Dupont being gone, although they have really good 9s, I don't think there is a 9 that can fill that Dupont role. So France are going to have to adjust how they play without Dupont.
How much of the ball does France play at 9? How much the role
Basically
of the 9
everything.
in France, everything comes from the 9. With Dupont gone, their game plan goes out the window. They have to reshuffle. They have to reshuffle everything they do. So Dupont not being there puts loads of pressure on Jalibert. What does Jalibert do under pressure in World Cup games? He kicks the ball backwards.
Oh, Kieran, that's just...
Look, we're acting like it's Jalibert on his own. He's going to have Ramos with him. He's going to have Fiku with him. He's going to have lots of decision makers around him.
Exactly.
So it doesn't all fall on Jalibert to pick up for where France miss out with not having Dupont. It's up to all of the players.
I'm telling you, the headlines of the Six Nations for France will be Dupont gone, France missing. I'm telling you.
So, final prediction for France. I'm saying France comes second because obviously I still think England are going to win. Actually, I'm still struggling between. I'm saying second or first, but where do you see France finishing the Six Nations?
Fourth.
I'm saying second.
Fourth is ridiculous, Kieran. Kieran's got credibility here.
I'm being deadly serious. Wales come third, France fourth. I promise you.
Next team we're looking at. You go around. What's that?
I was just saying second or third.
Second or third isn't too bad because England, yeah. Next team we're looking at is Scotland. God, to be honest, I don't have a lot to say about Scotland. I think Scotland is always that they're always riding on this hype. Me and Kieran will definitely agree on this. Finn Russell's now ready to lead a team.
Right off.
They're ready to be a serious team. Then they lose to like bloody Wales or something. I don't think they're going to do anything. The Six Nations. I have them in the 5th or 4th spot. What else to expect, really?
This could be a little bit rogue. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
This could be a bit rogue, but I'm gonna say Scotland finish 3rd.
Yeah,
Get off dick.
I'm
Get
done with
off
the
Russell's
podcast,
dick.
lads.
Get off Russell's dick. He is
3rd
not
or
going
4th.
to. Mate, come on, that's ridiculous.
And the only reason I say that is because they already have a team set up. England, Wales don't. Italy aren't that good. So I think they have an advantage where they're further on in their sort of stage as a team. They've already got a team built. They've already got a system and all of that. England building a new team, they're not gonna gel perfectly straight away.
I disagree. I think Russell crumbles the bag like apple crumble. Honestly,
Yeah, every time.
Can we actually have a Russell ban? Can we not talk about it?
Yes,
Because
Yeah.
it really irritates me that he's in the conversation for best fly half in the world. He gets put on this global stage. He goes to Bath, the worst Premier League, right, in the world, the worst league in the world. He does well with Bath, granted. He goes to Scotland, he will be dreadful. He's been dreadful since Stuart Hogg has retired. With him without Hogg on the pitch, having that kicking axis, he has been dreadful.
And I'd just like to add to Kieran's point. Just because Finn Russell goes at a domestic level and impacts Bath, fair enough, they're doing well at a domestic level. That doesn't mean he's then going to go and put on a Scotland jersey, and Scotland are now going to go and, beat the likes of France and beat the likes of Ireland and beat the likes of England. I'm expecting Scotland to maybe turn up for the England game, but they don't have a hope in hell against France.
We agreed this the other day, last Six Nations, okay? Yeah. We've said Finn Russell is one pass away from ruining a game. We said that. The moment Russell tries to do his little flicky pass and be the magic star of the show, passes it straight to, I think it was Dimitri or Peno underneath the post. He's a liability. Ramos, and I promise you, this Six Nations, I'm predicting him to do the exact same thing. He's an absolute
Can I say something? Taddy, when Pollard for an intercept the other day, you didn't say a word.
Yep.
Kieran, Farrell's thrown 3 intercepts this season.
Blocked
he got charged down twice on the weekend. Charged down 2 times in a row on the weekend and conceded a try.
He's got family issues.
If Finn Russell does that, everyone says, "Oh, Finn Russell, he's prone to mistakes, this, that, and the other." He's thrown less intercepts than any other 10 that you talk about.
And I'll answer that point. Is Farrell being considered in the top 2 conversation of the fly halves in the world?
Hell no.
No, he's not. So the expectation on Farrell is lower than on Russell. So Russell has to meet the expectation that people are putting him at.
What about Pollard? Pollard's definitely in the conversation.
I don't think Rohan. I've always said Pollard isn't in the top 5 conversation.
Well, who is? Because Mwonga's
I'll disagree with you. Well, I disagree with you, right? Is this, right? See, you talk about Farrell and talk about Pollard, right? And Farrell's proven this and Pollard's proven this. When it's an international game and a big moment, you can rely on both of them, right? Yeah. Farrell in that World Cup semi-final against South Africa was slotting drop goals, slopping penalties, right? Pollard throws a miss pass, right, for a Leicester Tigers game. Can I ask you a question? Would Razzie Erasmus let Pollard do that in his Springbok jersey? No. Russell, he doesn't adjust his game for international rugby. He thinks, okay, I'll continue to... I guarantee Russell's the type of player, 80 minutes on the clock, right? Yeah, we've won the game already. He'll still be doing out-the-back passes, flinging it around the back. He's a liability,
Taddy, is that Scotland aren't as good as England or South Africa or New Zealand. So when it comes to Finn Russell and the coach letting him throw his passes, he has to let Finn Russell throw those passes.
Rohan, this argument goes out the window, and I'll tell you why. Because when Russell had a rubbish team around him, I was on your side. I said he has to throw the loopy passes to make stuff happen.
I'm not saying he has a rubbish team around him. I'm saying they're not as good as England or South Africa.
Understand what I'm saying. I said if Russell had a rubbish Scotland team around him, I agreed with you that he had to throw the magic passes to make something happen. Otherwise, nothing would. But now Russell has a complete backline, a complete 4-pack in front of him. Rohan, Tua Pelosi and Hugh Jones are considered the top 2 centres in the world.
I think they're one of the best centre partnerships in the world.
Darcy Graham is one of the leading try scorers in the world. Duan van der Merwe is wanted by every club in bloody the world, and he's wanted by the Springboks if he was eligible. And then they've got at fullback Blair Kinghorn, who you also like. He's got a little backline, and he's still making mistakes.
He doesn't have to.
I strongly believe that those players will not be considered as good as they were if they were not playing outside Finn Russell.
And it's on that. It's on that. But you said they wouldn't be considered.
No, I'm finished. It's just
stupid. On an international level, if you look at where they do well and what they do well, Finn Russell always has an involvement in it. Without
he's the fly half. He's going to touch the ball. My point is, bro, he's got a littered team around him, and he still tries to be the person that everyone's patting on the back saying, well done, come off the pitch, because he wants to be the hero, and he's not the hero.
What about him wanting to be the hero? He has to be.
No, that's not the point, Rohan. The point is...
Okay, look at Scotland's stats without Finn Russell playing, and look at them against with him actually playing.
Okay, and then in the same argument, go look at games where Dupont's not in France and look at the same stats. Because
he's cooked you there.
How has he cooked me? I don't understand.
He's basically saying, like, Russell obviously plays a huge part in Scotland's wins, right? But we cannot deny that he's been detrimental to Scotland at certain points. Like when Kieran said, throwing intercept passes. Russell, as Kieran said, has got a good enough team around him to not play that magician rugby and to play test-winning rugby. Like the Islands play, the South Africa play, the New Zealand play, to win test matches. Russell plays rugby to score tries and do all the fancy stuff. He needs to take sometimes the more boring option, go for the penalties, and that's what wins you test matches.
The penalties aren't his call. He kicks when he's told to kick.
He's a co-captain now, so it is.
Who's the captain?
He's a co-captain now with him and Rory Darge.
Okay, well, yeah. Okay, I guess we'll see the Six Nations. I think he can play test rugby. I just think the coaches choose him not to because they need an attack that works.
And then they wonder why they get knocked out in the group stages and they come fifth in the Six Nations.
Because they're in a pool with Ireland and South Africa.
But my point is, they
no team in the world makes it out.
That is silly. Bro, they wonder why they finish like fifth in the Six Nations every year because they don't play test rugby. And you keep backing Finn Russell to not play test rugby, and they finish like fifth, fourth, and third if they're lucky. Do you know what I mean?
Guys, just to wrap up, what's your predictions for Scotland? I know. Look, I have Wales coming sixth. I have Italy coming fifth. I have Scotland coming fourth. I still don't think that level where they can beat an England, where they can beat an Ireland, where they can then go beat a France, and a Grand Slam's never going to happen in my lifetime. But Kieran, what do you reckon?
I think it's going to go Wales third, France fourth, Scotland fifth.
Rowan?
I'm going with Scotland. I'm torn between third and fourth. It's between Scotland and England, but I'm going to say third. I'm going to say they beat England.
Next team is Italy. We can keep this brief. It's over. Where are Italy finishing?
Next.
One. Ireland, England.
England, Ireland. Where should we go? Let's go England, guys. England, transitional period for England, coming off the back of the World Cup. I know Kieran said I'm delusional for saying this, but I genuinely think they could win the Six Nations this year. I think they have the tools. I think they have the players. I think they have the form with Northampton and with other Premiership clubs doing well. But what are our expectations for England, the Six Nations?
I mean, I agree with you. We've got the players and we're playing with our players in form. The only thing that I'm worried about is that Borthwick is going to take in these new players that are really good at attacking, like Tommy Freeman, like Ollie Lawrence, and then he's just going to teach them how to chase kicks and make tackles and not actually attack.
I agree with that. I agree with that too. I think Borthwick is going to really, really hold back the Prem goodness we have, which is not a lot. I do think that Rowan is right. I think he's going to bring in all this talent pool and he's going to start fresh, and then all he's going to do is get Jack Van Portfleet to put box kicks up, and they're going to do that like a Jack Russell chasing a ball. I just don't see the point in bringing all that talent in if you're not going to use it.
Look, well, I disagree with you guys, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I keep on repeating it, but Borthwick only had a year with this England team. Well, he's had a year with this England team, and I think with the players England have, right, and the form of the England players that are in now, with guys like Waboso, as I said, one of the greatest wingers we will ever see when he gets the chance to play. Kieran, right? He has to play attacking rugby, and I think he will play attacking rugby. And I think with Smith at 10, it's really a do or die moment for him. With Farrell out and George Ford out, maybe on the bench, if Smith has a bad Six Nations now, I can't give any more justification for giving him more opportunities. He's 24, 25. But yeah, that's my opinion on England, the Six Nations.
I just think if you go with what I think they will go with, which is Mitchell, Smith, Slade, Lawrence, and then back three, maybe Tommy Freeman, Joe Thokinasinger, and Freddie Stewart. Like the amount of attacking weapons you have there, you just have to use them. You have to play to your strengths. So I think if England attack, they finish third. If England play the classic Borthwick ball, then they'll finish fourth. They'll still beat Wales and Italy, but they'll finish fourth.
I think if Marcus Smith, I agree with Tyler, if he's in that England shirt today, this Six Nations, and they don't finish in that top three, I think
He's done.
Marcus Smith is going to have everything and point at him to get out. I really do, and he now knows it. With possibly a France contract, club rugby coming up, he knows it's his time. And if he doesn't perform, like every Marcus Smith fan needs to shut up after this because he is given opportunity, test match, everything. Going into it, I do think Borthwick is going to hold them back, and I can see them finishing second though.
Where I will agree with you, and where I think it's interesting, I want to get you guys' thoughts. Do you think Marcus Smith and Dunbrant are in a Finn Russell situation where it's, especially Dunbrant, who I'm really surprised, and I know Rowan's going to have a lot to say about Zach Mercer, actually about Dunbrant. I'm very surprised Alex Dunbrant got the call back to England. I don't have a clue. I would have picked Billy Vunipola over him just because I know how much of a abomination he is in an England jersey, and then Smith as well with his form. Are they in a Russell situation in the sense that they play so well at club when they get into international, it just never transfers? Would you say?
I would say that for players like Dombrant and Malins. I wouldn't say that for players like Smith or Russell. I just think that Marcus Smith needs to be given control over his team to be able to unlock. Like when he is for Harlequins, he completely changes the way they play and he completely improves them. And he's on form right now. He needs to be given the control, like given the keys, and I think he will do that.
Rohan, mate, you sound like a broken record. We gave him the keys against New Zealand in a test match. He didn't.
And look
win.
how well he did. Look how well he did
And
against.
did he win though? Did he win?
He drew. He was 14 points down. And
Will
his team ended up drawing.
Will Stewart in about your Bath player had more of an impact than Marcus Smith in that comeback.
I disagree, but that's.
So you don't think a player that scored 2 tries in the game to come back doesn't have more of an impact than a fly half who basically just stood there?
But fly half's pulling the strings, and Kieran,
I think the way Smith attacked in that last 20 minutes, if he can find out a way of being able to do that for an 80-minute game, then England have got probably the best attack in the world.
What I find crazy about this is Kieran is being so much more negative about England than he is about Wales, which I can't. I hate to use the word delusional. I don't know what to call it.
His name's Kieran Williams. Obviously, he's gonna.
Kieran, can you explain that actually? Like, why is so much
I'm happy to. I understand. I said England are going to come second and Wales third. Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is England are going to finish better than what Wales are, but Wales will beat France, Scotland, and Italy, and they'll lose to England and Ireland. And I'll tell you because they are a tough team to beat. And I know they are. I know statistically they are not on form, but I'm telling you, as a team, and a lot of players have said this, as soon as they go to the Principality, as soon as they have Wales in front of them, for some reason, fitness-wise or something, or their ability, they are a tough team to crack, and they break you down.
Can I ask you a question?
Go on.
On our Six Nations prediction video last year, you said the Principality is a fortress of mid. So, like, just going back to the point that you made about the Principality being a tough place to play.
No, yeah. It's a fortress of mid because the fans aren't as cheery. That's the best way to put it.
Okay, I hear you. England predictions for the Six Nations. I think personally they're going to win. I think the Ireland home game and the Wales home game will be massive for them. They could go 2 for 2 if they beat Italy than Wales. So I think England will win the Six Nations. Kieran, what about you?
I think Ireland come out and swap England second.
Brian.
England, if they play the right way, they finish third for me. If they don't, they finish fourth. There's not a big difference.
Pick a position. What, 2 or 3rd? 2 or 3rd.
Well, it depends on a lot of things. So
it doesn't. Pick a number. Just be
right, I'm gonna say fourth. Then
England fourth.
Yeah,
fourth is crazy. But final team to predict, and I don't know why we looked at Ireland last, looking like their special team this year. It's Ireland. I think the expectations have to be lowered massively. There won't be a Grand Slam this year. Not without Sexton, not without Lowe, not without Hansen. But what do we think of Ireland heading into the Six Nations?
I think they're a team that's well set up, well put together already. They just need maybe a few tweaks with players that they're missing and new players come in. They're going to have to find slightly a different way of playing. But overall, they're already set up to be a successful team.
I agree with Rohan. I think they are a team that's set up, and I also agree that they are going to have to tweak slightly how they're going to play. I don't think they're going to have to take it to the line with Sexton. They're going to have to find a new way to attack. But I believe Andy Farrell has all the plans to be put in place. I do. There's a reason why. There's a reason why he's Lions coach. There's a reason why he's Lions coach.
Yeah, I know Rohan will back me. The same way in which you said France overrated, I think Ireland's criminally overrated. You look at the period in which they have massive success, which was only due to the injuries of other teams. Do I think Ireland now without Sexton can really be a competent side? No, I don't. Do I think Jack Crowley's a test level fly half? No,
Yes.
I don't.
That's one thing.
He's had two matches, right, in an Ireland jersey. His involvement against South Africa was coming on, slotting a kick from 5 meters out and walking off and thinking he was the hero. I don't think they are a team now with the loss of Sexton that can actually compete and beat those big teams and win those big games. They'll get humbled in France in the first round as well. That's my honest opinion.
I disagree, but I do think Jack Crowley is a test level player. I just think he's and I want to make the comparison of Jack Crowley, Marcus Smith, because I think that conversation needs to be had. Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Everyone was hyping Marcus Smith coming out of the Brighton College and saying he's the next Johnny Wilkinson, some people. But Jack Crowley's just just doing his work, plodding along, and he's improving vastly at Munster, one of the best club teams. So I think Jack Crowley has a higher ceiling than Marcus Smith, and I think Jack Crowley could take Ireland forward.
No, that's fair enough. And where do we see over at Ryan? Did you want to have a comment to make?
No, I think what Kieran's saying is partly true. I wouldn't compare him to Marcus Smith so much, just given that they work with very different coaches in very different environments. Crowley's definitely in a better environment in terms of the Ireland setup compared to us England setup. But there's no doubt about it. He is definitely a test level 10 now, and I think he slots right in. And Ireland barely need to tweak anything, maybe a little bit, but he slots right in for Sexton.
And just for our final predictions, where do we see Ireland finishing the Six Nations? I have them in third place. Kieran, what do you reckon?
Number 1.
Rowan?
1.
Well, guys, that was our Six Nations preview video, the Breakdown Rugby Roundup episode 2. Make sure to tune in. We'll be giving some previews to every round and some reactions as well. From the Breakdown boys, it's been us once again. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. Thank you once again for listening, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Pound.
What clip?